like to welcome Mr. Deven Yi from Surmesur. He is the leader in the Montreal market who runs their Montreal branch location, and we are thrilled to have him on this call today to learn more about him and what inspires him about the Vrais Héros community care program to support nurses who are fighting COVID-19 to keep us all safe. Deven, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Declan, for having me. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. I cannot wait to share a little bit of what's happening between Surmesur and Vrais Héros.
Wow, yeah, indeed. Like, there's so much to talk about. I know that you mentioned that you are starting to see business shift in the right direction. You use the term business is picking up, and that's really encouraging news because I know that from our conversation, we're heading into wedding season in the middle of a pandemic. People still are in love and want to get married, and so it's fascinating. Folks still want to look their best on their wedding day, which means, of course, they turn to your team at Surmesur to help with that. Need. The gentlemen that are getting married, they want to wear these fine suits and fine tuxedos, and so that's what's driving most of the positive uptick activity right now as we head into the wedding season. Is that correct? Did I capture that thought correctly? Or?
Exactly. Yeah. I think right now the most important thing is love. That's what we need more of, and we see, like you mentioned, people are still in love. People still want to get married. I know, this year it's been really difficult for a lot of people. A lot of people's plans have been changed. There's a lot of uncertainty. Even though people are coming in to see me and they're telling me they want to get ready to get married, to look their best. Some of them tell me even the dates that they have, it's still very uncertain, but they want to be ready just in case if, for example, another lockdown happens, they just want to get ready. So I'm here to do my best to help everyone as much as I can.
I appreciate that sentiment of people sitting on the fence, not because they want to, but because our health and medical environment is creating this tenuous environment. We don't know where things are going to go. I mean, folks are preparing for another lockdown, as you said just now, and we think about schools being reopened in September. Folks don't know if their kids are going to be in a virtual environment or if they're going to be in classroom or a combination. There's so much uncertainty out there, and I've done quite a bit of reading and studying about pandemics and economic contractions throughout recent time in modern history. And if we take a look back to the Great Depression, and of course, the history coming out of the Roaring 20s, we got into the Dirty 30s is what it was called, which was the Great Depression, one of the most severe economic, uncomfortable situations for a country and its people to be in. Loss of jobs, people traveling across the country to find work, leaving their families behind. But in addition to the challenges of the Great Depression, if we were to talk about that for a bit, I wanted to also shine a spotlight on the positive things that came out of that time in our lives and in our great-grandparents' lives and grandparents' lives. It also highlighted the beauty of humanity, and you talked about love. Now is a time for love, and we're seeing love triumph even in this dark time. We're seeing love as light in this darkness. In the Great Depression, what happened is that communities were formed. People got together to find ways to grow community gardens, for example, and sharing became more prevalent. So the goodness in human nature also had an opportunity to shine. And I'm a believer from a philosophical perspective that it's never good or bad. There's usually a balance to things that occur in life if we choose to look for them, and that's the key. We have to choose to look for them because sometimes, based on our perspective, we don't see the whole picture. But in addition to people sharing and coming together as community and love thriving, I wanted to connect something back to what it is you do for a living, which is create this wonderful Psychological experience, positive psychological experience, you feel good when you look good. There's a
Definitely.
correlation to that. And coming out of the 30s, we had this explosion of creativity in music, but also in fashion. What we found is that if we take a look at the history, people needed to find ways to feel good about themselves during this very difficult time. So one of the ways they were able to do it was to improve their appearance. And that's why when you look at pictures from the 30s, and you'll find a spectrum of reflection of that time in pictures where folks were either dirt poor and in ragged clothes and they were unkept. And the other end of the spectrum, you have this brilliance of this flourish of fashion.
Mm-hmm.
People, when they left their homes, they wanted to look good, so they were all dressed in beautiful dresses and tailored suits and beautiful shoes. So, if we were to take that perspective of that period of an economic uh, contraction, and that depression actually era, if that is the backdrop for what's going on right now in the world, I think where you're positioned is really, really well to lift the spirits of people in the work that you do. What are your
Definitely.
thoughts on that conversation that I shared?
I completely agree with you, 100%, and I see it every day during pandemic or even during normal times. One of the things that bring the most satisfaction for me in my job, in my field, is that every day I see a lot of people, people come from different backgrounds, and with what I do with custom menswear, obviously I see people with different shapes and sizes, and I've always said this to the people around me. One of the most satisfying things is once that perfect suit that comes in for my client, a client that that has difficulty finding proper clothes that fit him properly in off the rack stores, for someone that never ever experienced like what a custom suit is like, and that moment that when they put it on and they walk out of that cabin, you see their faces light up like they have never ever seen anything that fit them as perfectly as the suit that they have on them. It's the moment is priceless. The emotions that they're feeling, especially the fact that when it's a groom and their whole family is there with them, it's just amazing. And for me, that's why I keep doing what I do. That's what I tell my friends, that what I'm doing, I don't even feel like it's a job. I'm having a lot of fun, and it's such a pleasure for me to be able to help people share this experience, this moment, these feelings with the people around them. It's magical. I I, I love this about the nature of my job.
Yeah, I can hear that. You use the term magical. You talk a lot with emotion in the process, and that's what I love about this. I've got an appreciation for fine, tailored menswear. Part of my story, as I've shared with you, I've gone pretty deep into the bespoke culture in my world. And I wanted to say to you, from an emotional and a psychological perspective, I've seen how the transformation that happens uh, when one puts on a tailored garment actually is reflected in one's posture immediately. Like
Yes,
I've seen men stand up straighter. They feel more confident. They feel more present. Like the inspiration that transpires in the person and the being it's remarkable to witness. And I've seen it happen. The smiles get wider. The confidence in the voice gets some timber, and it's quite a remarkable transformation. So there's more to it than just fabric and buttons. There's an
exactly.
element of emotional and psychological lift, which I think is important. The positive lift that you create for your clients is what I would describe, from understanding the nature of humanity, is invaluable. Like, how can you
Hmm.
put a price on making someone feel good, making them
Hmm.
feel confident, and then the ripple effect doesn't stop with the person just feeling good. They then interact with others in their world in a positive way because they want to make others feel good and lift them up and make them feel happy because they're feeling happy. So, I see the transition through the ripple effect of positivity of what it is you do. And so when we talk about positivity and things that you do, I wanted to understand the positive impact that you wanted to have with Vrais Héros. And
Mm-hmm.
the first question around Vrais Héros I'd like to ask is, how did you come to learn about Vrais Héros?